After hearing different sides from different people, we were finally able to see the whole picture. Cosmo's attack on the compounds was a diversion, which resulted in many wounded soldiers, but luckily no deaths. On the contrary, the Aberono Koji incident had resulted in 4 deaths, including Ito of the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb. The fallen were all former Shinsengumi warriors, so I had been mildly familiar with some of them. Ito, Monai, Hattori, and Heisuke. At least that's what we had told to the public. Heisuke was now pronounced dead to the public eye. But, as you can see. Heisuke, there you are.
Oh, Chizuru, Soma, don't scare me like that.
A familiar voice had returned in the dojo, which was dim and empty during these hours. Heisuke stood alone in the dojo, and he smiled wryly as he turned to face us.
This is so weird to me. When I had joined the guard, I thought I'd never see you guys again. Who'd have thought I'd come back like this, though, huh?
How do you feel?
I feel totally fine, I guess. See? Look! My injury was super deep, but now there's no scar and nothing left to look at.
Heisuke swung his arms back and forth. Just like he said, there was no sign that he was hurt at all. But that didn't surprise me. Heisuke unfortunately couldn't stay out in the sun anymore, but now his body could heal at a superhuman rate. Now he was a fury. Heisuke,
Don't give me that face. Honestly, I don't remember much. Becoming a fury, I mean. All I knew was it hurt, and the pain was killing me, and that I didn't want to die. Then, boom, all of a sudden, I'm a fury. The whole time, though, I was thinking to myself that dying would probably be better than being a fury.
Heisuke was taken aback now, as if he had said something to embarrass himself. We stood there silently. Although the wounds all over his body had disappeared, as if he'd never fought at all, there was still a hole where his heart used to be. Or at least that was the impression he gave. Aw, poor Heisuke.
So, you guys looking for me or something? Sup?
Ah, yes. Hijikata asked us to come find you. He wants us to make arrangements to make your life a little easier.
Oh yeah, huh. There isn't too much I can really do from now on. Can't go to a tea house or a cafe or spend time with you guys eating odongo during the day.
Odongo!
I can't go out drinking with Sano and Shin anymore, too.
What could we even say to Heisuke to lighten how desolate he felt in this new life? He was still alive, but for all intents and purposes, he was dead to the rest of the world. He now had to make do with navigating the rest of his life in the dreariness of nightfall.
Toto, if there's anything we could do for you, please let us know.
Yes, of course. We'll do anything to cheer you up, Heisuke. I'm not sure if anything I make would be as good as the shops in Kyoto, but I can make odongo.
Yeah, and if you want to drink with Harada, then I'll buy sake for you every day.
You guys. You trying to cheer me up now.
Even if we weren't doing the best job, I guess our intentions had been read clearly by Heisuke. Heisuke's expression softened a little.
Gonna buy me sake, huh? But I wonder why. He doesn't look like much, that Soma, but every time I see him, I keep thinking of someone.
Are you just saying to Soma's face, like, he doesn't, in the third person, like he's not here? Who?
Ryunosuke Ibuki.
Okay. A boy who formerly resided in the headquarters of the Roshigumi, who were the predecessors to the Shinsengumi. So the guy who gave him the wood block painting thing. Okay. I thought I'd heard that name before. I was trying to think of where I'd heard it before, but Heisuke then gave me a hint.
I might have mentioned him in the past, but you don't know him. He was in the Shinsengumi long before Soma, or even you joined Chizuru.
Whoa, that quick turn.
So, is he a former warrior?
Well, he was one of us, but he wasn't a warrior.
He was one of you guys, but not a warrior? I was in a similar position, so I couldn't help but feel a certain kinship in that regard. If what Heisuke had said were true, then there was someone else like me in the Shinsengumi.
His story isn't exactly a fun one, but if you want to hear it, I'll tell it to you. All about Ryunosuke Ibuki and the Roshigumi.
Heisuke looked at me as he asked, and I said, "Of course I'd love to hear it." Ryunosuke Ibuki. I had never met him, nor had I heard about him. I wasn't even sure what he looked like, but I'd love to know more about him, Heisuke. I was urged by a strange curiosity to learn more about him, so we nodded towards each other.
Yeah, I haven't been with the Shinsengumi for long, so any chance I can get to know more, I'll take it. Especially when it comes to our history. I want to know what drove you to join us, and what it took to get there.
Oh, okay. Well, he's up for story time. Heisuke smiled brightly, and he took a deep breath before beginning his story. Deep breath. A story about a time before us, about the Roshigumi. Aside from Kondo's designation as chief, there was another position known as the head captain. Okay, everything was in color for a second. This title was fulfilled by someone named Kamo Serizawa.
Ah, since he was a former leader in the Shinsengumi, I know who you're talking about. But no one really told us much about him. So, what kind of person was Serizawa?
It's a little hard to explain, but what I can say for sure was that he wasn't a great guy. He would extort money from people, get all drunk and rowdy at Shimabara, and he'd take bribes from merchants all the time. And he's the guy who brought the Furies into the Shinsengumi and stuff.
Wait, so this guy was doing all that and was still a leader of this organization?
I could see how Soma was a little surprised, given how the Shinsengumi as he knew it was led by Kondo, who always acted as a model authority. Soma's voice had a hint of judgment, but Heisuke simply smiled back and continued with his tale.
Yeah, guy was a real piece of work. It wasn't crazy for him to get into brawls often. But, without him, the Roshigumi wouldn't even have been able to eat. See, Kondo and Hijikata have all their grand philosophies now, but back then, they weren't able to put that stuff into practice. It was Serizawa who taught them how to get things done. He always said, "You can't put food on the table pretending to be a warrior." He knew it.
Oh. And, wow. Ryunosuke Ibuki in that colored pose for a second looked absolutely beautiful, can I just say?
And so, Ryunosuke Ibuki, the guy I was telling you about, was the poor soul who was forced to work as Serizawa's page.
Forced? So he didn't volunteer to join the Shinsengumi?
Nope. Serizawa picked up Ryunosuke off the street. Kid could barely cut it out there. He told us every day about how stupid he thought warriors were. But out of respect for Serizawa for saving him, he did whatever he was told to do. Even when Serizawa would knock the hell out of him at times. He had so many chances to make a break for it, but he never left till Serizawa finally kicked the bucket.
Really, that's when he left. So, how did Serizawa, pass away?
Huh. Well, we killed him.
Of course you did. It came out of Heisuke's mouth so nonchalantly. Serizawa's behavior became impossible to ignore, so the leaders ordered his death. Even with him being a Fury, they killed him. Oh, he was a Fury as well? Sheesh. Following this whole debacle, the man known as Ibuki had disappeared.
Soma, remember how you had that woodblock print when I first met you?
Was that woodblock print of Serizawa? Okay, it was.
The picture was of the former chief of the Shinsengumi, Kamo Serizawa in his Fury form.
One of the chiefs and founders of the Roshigumi, he is the one who introduced the water of life to the Shinsengumi.
I see. So that's why all of you freaked out when you saw that I had it.
Yep. Ryunosuke is the only person who could have drawn Serizawa in his Fury form.
Come come to think of it, I remembered everyone showing signs of relief upon seeing the picture. Heisuke paused from telling his story for a moment, then he looked at Soma.
Hey, Soma, I know we kind of put you on the spot back then, but could I ask you something? How did you get a hold of that drawing?
I lost my traveling expenses in Edo, and there was an artist who took me in and fed me. I owe him so much because, during that time, he gave me one of his drawings that he liked, and he told me to sell it to put some money in my pocket.
So, that man was Ibuki then?
Guess so. However, I don't think he meant to give me that woodblock on purpose. He had me choose one out of his whole collection, and when I chose that one, he kinda jumped. But I was very, very enchanted by this particular work of art. It just looks so real, as if it was alive.
And then that woodblock brought you all the way here, to the Shinsengumi. Sounds like fate, huh?
After finishing his story, Heisuke seemed to feel a great pang of relief after letting out a big sigh.
Huh. Honestly, more than anything, I'm happy. Happy to hear Ryunosuke's alive. He was kind of forced into the Roshigumi, and because he lived with us, he got sucked into all our craziness. It would have been so sad if it ended up killing him. So it really makes me happy to hear he's okay.
Judging by Heisuke's relief, I could sense that Heisuke and Ibuki were really close back in the day. It seemed as if knowing Ibuki was alive brought him some well-needed perspective. For what it's worth, Heisuke, I think we feel the same about you. I'm also really happy to hear you're alive, no matter what may have happened.
I'm sure Ibuki would be happy to hear that you're still alive, too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Heisuke paused, squinting to think for a second, then turned his back on us and began to walk off.
Jeez, you guys. Don't get too soft on me.
When he turned around again, he was wearing the smile that so perfectly fit the old Heisuke. As he was slowly dissolving into the darkness, I noticed Heisuke looked smaller than usual. Even then, he did his best to provide us some cheer at the end of it all. He looked into the distance longingly. It was clear Heisuke wasn't who he used to be. I wonder what'll become of Heisuke.
I think he'll eventually join the Fury Corps.
Because he'd already died once, don't you think he'd think twice before fighting again? I mean, I shouldn't have been one to presume how Heisuke might have felt, but knowing how much this has affected him, I couldn't help but ask. Soma began muttering to himself, but his voice had felt a little sympathetic.
I think I understand where Toto could be coming from. For example, if I were to cross swords with powerful swordsmen, like Kazuma or Miki, I would do anything to protect you, but my skill alone wouldn't be enough. Now we have something that makes the impossible possible, a strength that could make protecting you from anything a possible task.
I wanted so badly to say, please don't. But there was nothing I could really say.
I don't know if I'd reject that chance.
Soma looked to me, as if beckoning me to smile, but I couldn't bring myself to answer him. Aw, he's so earnest towards you, and you're just like, ugh, I don't want you to die, barf. Before November ended, the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb, which was Ito's faction, had been undergoing serious internal strife. Saito had joined the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb as the Shinsengumi spy. And based on the intelligence report, the Shinsengumi had assassinated Ito. The attack on the Guardians eventually became known as the Aberona Koji Incident. During this incident, the demons and the Satsuma intervened, and Heisuke had suffered a critical injury during the resulting altercation. In order for Heisuke to survive, he was forced to drink the serum. At the same time, Chikage Kazuma had planned and executed a coordinate attack on the compounds. The serum, brought into the Shinsengumi by my father, was now slowly eating all of them away. My heart began sinking from the weight of all this.
Alright.
I guess we're... At least if Kazue ends up taking the serum to become a Fury, we know he's gonna be, like, okay with it. It's like, I need more power to be able to protect you properly, Sensei. haven't seen Nomura in a hot minute, though. It's been quite a while. Alright, so we're back to, like, are we gonna help Toshi or not? Let's see. Checking my notes. Oh. Or not? That was quick. Okay, I won't check my notes. The cold frost of winter was so invasive that even the inside of the compounds were freezing. Okita? Okita? I had been visiting Okita's room, but I stopped folding laundry to call out to him. It's getting really cold outside. If you keep being exposed to the wind, I don't think it's good for you. Why don't we close the door and let you rest a little? I'm fine. Dr. Matsumoto said so himself. It's good for me to air out the room from time to time. Besides, I don't think it's doing me any better if you keep treating me like a terminal patient. Okay, you might have a point. Okita chuckled at his own joke, and he looked towards the trees in the inner yard. Seeing Okita like this was nice, as if he was becoming more like his usual self. But, in reality, I knew it was different. Even at this moment, his illness was surely eating away at his body. As of late, Okita was having difficulty in even holding his sword. Hey, Chizuru. Every time you have that little sad face, you're really bumming me out. Oh, sorry! I rushed to meet his eyes, and he stared deeply back into my own. Excuse me? Suddenly, he spoke up. Come to think of it, Chizuru, you sure have been close with Soma lately. Where is this going? Really? Yeah, really. I see you two together all the time. Well, it could probably be because we were tasked with some of the same duties. After all, Soma, Nomura, and I are all pages. Didn't mean like that, though. Huh? Really? You're gonna be like, so, was something going on? I was playing coy to Okita, but he was already wearing his normal smug expression, like he wanted to say something just to provoke a response. Oh, so you know what he's saying. Okay. Oh, but now that you mention it, you may be right. It's true. I've been spending a lot of time with Soma lately. It wasn't only because of our duties as pages either. If I thought about it, it felt as if I spent at least half of my day, every day, with him. I'd become quite used to him being by my side all the time. Oh, speak of the devil.
Excuse me, Okita. Oh, hello, Yukimura. Didn't know you were here.
Oh!
Huh? What's the matter, Yukimura?
Nothing. In came Soma with a platter, and I couldn't help but stare at him considering his timing. Soma seemed a little nervous that he was the center of attention, but he continued towards Okita.
Okita, I brought your porridge.
Oh, just leave it. I'll eat it when I feel like it.
You know, it'd be better for you if you ate, even at times when you don't feel like it.
That's right, Okita. You really do need to rest and take better care of yourself. Jeez, all you guys do is nag me. Look, truth is, I'm really not hungry. Okita looked at us with a playful distaste, but he accepted the porridge from Soma. His handsome face warped, perhaps disgusted by the thought of eating what was in his bowl. Aw, such a handsome boy. Hey, Soma. This porridge has green onions and other shit in it. I told you not to put this shit in there. Do you suck this much at making porridge, too?
I apologize for that. Really, I meant to take out the green onions like you'd asked. But then Chief Kondo was passing by, and he told me your illness won't go away if you keep being a picky eater. But I understand. I'll remake it.
It's fine. I'll eat it. Aw, Kondo wants you to eat your onions. Okita was pouting like a child. He puckered his lips, grabbing the bowl, and gingerly brought it to his lips. As he was slurping the porridge, he looked dissatisfied, but at least he was eating. Okita, do you only listen to what others have to say when it comes out of Kondo's mouth? What are you trying to say? That I don't listen or something? I didn't mean it that way. I just wanted to say that I noticed how much you really respect Kondo. Well, duh. Kondo's word is law. It's always been that way, ever since we were at Shie Hall.
Shie Hall. So, that's the dojo that teaches the Tenin Rishin style, right?
Yep, it was Kondo's dojo. Hijikata and I used to spar there. Okita was smiling as he caught himself in a brief moment of reflection. A little while ago, Heisuke had shared with us a story of his days with the Roshigumi, but I hadn't heard much about the time in which they all worked in the Shie Hall, a time before the Roshigumi days. I was very curious. Kondo's Shie Hall.
I mean, that's where they trained Chief Kondo and Commander Hijikata. I'm sure it was one heck of a dojo.
You think so?
Of course. It must have been such a big dojo. Everyone surely knew about...
Wrong. The Shie Hall isn't the kind of dojo you're thinking of, Soma. Most of the students were farmers, and the walls had holes in them that would let the breeze in. When it rained, the building leaked like crazy. And we were the jackasses that had to fix it. It was a real shithole looking back at it now. We looked around, and surrounding us now was a newly built, state-of-the-art compound. Throughout my time here, I had heard that the early days were a little tough, but it's hard to imagine seeing how the Shinsengumi is doing now. Yeah, you guys have no idea. Okita placed the bowl of porridge on a side table, and he exhaled a cool, visible breath of white. I mean, I'm not doing anything else right now, so I might as well tell you both a story about how things used to be. Wow, all the memories. He began opening up about Shie Hall, which was a small dojo where a young Kondo got his start. The dojo was located in the countryside, which was night and day compared to the 4 largest dojos in Edo. Other people always used to give us shit for being the dojo with a bunch of farmhands. But of course, if anyone said it to our face, we made sure to teach them a lesson.
It looks like not much has changed. Or maybe that's just you then, Okita.
Surprisingly, Shie Hall was home to many talented swordsmen who took great pride in their craft, and it became a gathering of very powerful men. Both Hijikata and Inoue were pupils at the time. On top of that, Sanan, Nagakura, Harada, and Heisuke were staying there, hungry to learn. Okita, you were a student too, right? Yup. I'd lived there since I was a kid, so technically, I should outrank Hijikata because he had to commute there. Whenever Kondo was gone, I was the assistant instructor. Besides, I was stronger than Hijikata.
I see. I didn't know about all of this. It seems I still have much to learn.
You talking over there, Soma?
Oh, it's nothing.
Soma frantically straightened his posture, as if afraid of setting off Okita by saying something that would annoy him. Kondo's always aspired to be a warrior, even back then. He used to say, "I'm just a poor owner of a dojo, and I can't even feed you all. But someday, I vow to become a warrior to make you all proud." Every time Kondo would open up about his dreams, he really looked like he meant it. It's the start of the reason why I became so devoted to him. Okita stopped himself because, although he wouldn't say it, he was thinking of his childhood. I decided to speak up, albeit softly. So, that dream. Well, let's not presume. So, would you say that Kondo's dream came true? One could easily come to this conclusion. Kondo had become the Shinsengumi chief, with many men serving loyally under him. He was a warrior through and through. But Okita wasn't so quick to respond. He turned his line of sight away from mine, closing his eyes and breathing deeply. He seemed to be contemplating to himself, then he asked us a question. So, the two of you, what do you think a warrior is? A warrior is... Maybe you'd know, Soma. I mean, you've got warrior's blood. From your own perspective, what does Kondo look like to you? It wasn't even me that had the direct influence on that.
I feel like he is a true model for what it means to be a warrior.
Soma stood up straight in front of Okita. He was putting some thought to his words, and he continued speaking.
I've been thinking lately. A true warrior isn't so because of his social standing or who he knows.
You're saying some radical stuff, Soma. If the wrong person heard that, they'd give it to you.
Even so, my opinion is the same. I was born a warrior, and I've seen it for myself. I've seen plenty of men who claimed to be warriors, but they were so complacent and happy to be handed what they were given at birth. It's all so superficial. They just want to keep the ship steady. They have those kinds of options. Although not every domain is like that, I've seen so many that think so.
Is that why you joined the Shinsengumi, Soma?
Yes, this is what I know for sure now. If all I wanted was to work for the shogunate, then I'm sure I'd have plenty of other options. But there aren't too many groups out there like the Shinsengumi, where people are actually working towards the things they believe in. That's why it got me thinking. A true warrior isn't someone who wants to gain power for the sake of having it. A true warrior is someone who is passionate about defending those around them, even at the risk of their own lives.
Soma contained so much passion in his heart, and I could see how deeply he believed his words. Okita, however, didn't say a word. He didn't make any snide comments, nor did he joke at Soma's expense. All he said was one phrase. Thank you. Wow.
Huh?
What's with the surprise? You think I'm the kind of guy that can't give any credit where it's due?
No, it's not that. It's just, I thought you hated me this whole time. So, I never imagined I'd ever hear you say thank you to me.
Huh, but I do hate you.
Ugh.
Okita, can't you just... The moment was a little spoiled, but Okita just laughed it off like he normally does. But what I hate about you isn't your personality. It's just you, your upbringing. Can't you see it? You were born into a warrior family, then you just threw it all away. Then you come to an organization where everyone would kill to have the life you were given. It's just like you're rubbing it all over our faces.
That's not true at all. I respect the Shinsengumi with all my heart.
Yeah, I know that now. And I know you don't mean all of it. Okita kept laughing to himself while keeping a calm and stern demeanor in front of Soma. Look, frankly, your swordsmanship is just a little above average. I'm sure you can handle all the rogue farmers and pipsqueaks in the world, but against a real swordsman, you're as good as dead.
Wow. When you put it like that, it all sounds so depressing.
But you have guts. If it came to guarding Kondo and Chizuru, you pass. I guess. Then, Soma's eyes grew incredibly wide. Although it was kind of a backhanded compliment to Soma. I'm sure, coming from Okita, it truly meant the world to him. I mean, that's the best you're gonna get from Souji. Until I can hold my sword again. Make sure you protect Kondo and Chizuru, Soma.
Yes, sir. I will do so to the best of my ability.
Man, everyone is so concerned with protecting me this time around. It's nice to be, loved. Okita seemed fatigued from the length of our conversation, so he slowly crawled into his bed. And so we had left Okita's room to return to the common room. I think you're amazing, Soma.
What do you mean?
Okita never usually tells people how he really feels. So, for him to share his past with us like that, I think that was a very, very rare sight. I've never seen him entrust anyone else with protecting Kondo. At times, Okita seemed like he cherished Kondo more than himself, and now he was sharing this responsibility with someone else. Even if it was a temporary thing, for Okita it must have been difficult to accept. Which must have been why he was so reluctant to accept Soma as Kondo's page. But for him to appreciate what Soma said, and to express his gratitude, it means Okita accepts him now.
Thanks to Okita, I finally feel like I am learning about the origins of the Shinsengumi. Because all of them had to work to become a warrior instead of being born one. It has made the Shinsengumi all the stronger.
Yes, I think it is quite wonderful. A good warrior can come from anywhere.
Honestly, I can't believe I used to call myself a warrior back then, without knowing what I do now.
But you're a Shinsengumi warrior now, right? I smiled kindly at Soma.
I'm not there yet.
In response, he smiled, determined to fight for the future he knows he can achieve. Aw, I know he can do it. That bean. The Shinsengumi, once solid, now wavered. What would happen to them? What would happen to the Fury Corps? Men were forced to watch as their friends became the undead monsters known as Furies. Was it any wonder that they found themselves conflicted, or that tempers began to rise? Several days later, the order was given to begin the Imperial Restoration. The Emperor would be restored to power, and his court would once again rule the nation. The position of shogun would be abolished, and Kyoto's military and judiciary commissioner positions would be eliminated. All that the Shinsengumi had fought for and believed in was falling to pieces. Alright, time for things to ramp up again. Does that mean we're at the end of chapter 4? Looks like it. Yeah? Oh, what's our picture? Oh, is it a new pinky swear promise? I'm here for all the pinky swears. We got so much to catch up on. That's the achievement we got. Because of Imperial Restoration, political power had shifted from the shogunate back to the Imperial Court. And as the restoration became official, the newly established alliance between the Satsuma and Choshu began marching their forces to Kyoto. Formally speaking, the Tokugawa shogunate was a shadow of its former self, but they somehow still had control over aspects of Japanese government. December 1867. After the assassination of Ryoma Sakamoto had occurred last month, tension between the shogunate and the Satsuma had reached its peak, developing into a full-blown declaration of war. The name Ryoma Sakamoto had sounded somewhat familiar. From what I remembered, he was a Tosa Ronin whom the Shinsengumi had been watching closely. Shogunate officials had commanded the Shinsengumi not to lay a finger on Sakamoto. Regardless, there was no way the Satsuma or Choshu, who had been cooperating with Sakamoto, could let this go quietly. Since assuming power through the path of the Imperial Court, they gathered forces in Kyoto. The shogunate, on the other hand, was becoming agitated by the pervasive enemy military presence within the city. As a result, they attempted to respond with their own forces in a show of brute authority. Because of mutual interest, the Shinsengumi had been ordered to guard the Fushimi Magistrate. We were drawing closer to the end of the year, only a few days remaining in 1867. The threat of war loomed above all of us as the men began fortifying the Fushimi Magistrate.